been looking forward to taking this out, wondering, I've got this one-piece tub enclosure. It's all made out of plastic and it wraps around, but it's been coming off the wall since before I moved in, and today I'm gonna tear it out in hopes of replacing it with real tile in the next week or so. This is what it looks like behind. All right, it's not bad. This is where the leak has been happening the longest. So I'll have to see how gross that is behind it. This is the green backer board that was behind the the plastic shower insert that I had in here. The brown lines are where somebody on installation used liquid nails or something like that, and adhesive to stick down the liner. But the liner's out, and I'm going to pull this green board out too and upgrade to cement board, which is, I think, more waterproof than this green board. It's kind of intimidating, but it's just a bunch of screws, so should be out in a minute. The next phase of demolition was taking out the green drywall that was behind the plastic insert. So here we are. These are the studs. Potential water damage doesn't seem to be there. This one. The leak that I knew about was about here, and this one all seems solid, so I'm not going to investigate further. So the next thing to do is to put up cement board here where the drywall was. This is the lip around the bathtub. Goes up about an inch. All right, I'm going to put in the cement board before I put the tile in, and that's going to go in here. I'm not going to have it rest on this surface, and I'm not going to have it way up here. I'm going to have it about here. The edge of the cement board will rest here. And to get it there, I'm going to put 2 boards down like this and like this. This is exactly 5 feet, so that's perfect for one piece of cement board to lie to cover up this first section for the first 3 feet up this back wall of the tub. So that's what I'm going to do. This is actually, on the other side of this is outside of the front of my house. So I'm going to put insulation in there. And I put in some blocking here. So I have more supports for when I screw the cement board down. Obviously I want the tile to be as rigid as possible. Over here, I've got the plumbing for the bath faucet and the shower mixer. I didn't want to. I was fine with buying a new shower handle, mixer handle, and spout for the tub, but I didn't really want to break into this and replace this mixer. So I guess I kind of chickened out on that. So I'm going to leave that, and I'm just going to clean this up instead of replacing it. And I could do that. I can replace that after the tile's in. Although this is not going to be any easier. I don't know. I'll see how clean that looks when it's done. I've got 2 spacers under this sheet of Wonderboard, which is a cement board, which is waterproof. It's up against the studs. I also put insulation in because that's outside. That's an outside wall there, exterior wall. And I'm about to drill holes and screw this Wonderboard into the studs. All right, well, I punched the square out, and boy, are my hands bloody. All right, I've got some insulation in there. That's an exterior wall, so I put some insulation on that one. There's my little nook, and should work out pretty well. I'm going to start attaching it. The part where the faucet controls and the spigot come out, I put those in, and the first time I put them in, the panel wasn't flush to the wall. It was coming out a bit towards the bottom, like a little ski slope. And so I put a shim in here, and that made it flat, and I pushed it up a little bit so that it's right above the lip, or it's at the lip, instead of getting pushed out this way at it. So now it's not perfect, but much better. That moved this up so that now the ring, a little bit of a gap shows behind the ring, but I'll cover that up with tile. So that's not a big deal. I've got a little support here where there was a gap between the sheet at exactly 5 feet and the drywall, the existing drywall. So I put a little spacer in there. And I took off the metal corner that was on this corner here so that I think I can patch this up nicely. Although this is more than 1/8 of an inch of old dry plaster, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. But I'll try to cover it up and make it nice and smooth. This will have to get sealed. So this is going to be, it's going to require some artwork. On this side, I'll have to cover these gaps up and scrape this off to make this flat and flush with this. I haven't decided where the tiles are going to end and the paint is going to start. I think I'd like it. I prefer that to take place on the cement rather than right at the edge. I had a gap here on the side of the tub, which I put a tiny piece of, not tiny, a smaller piece of cement board in, but it's not completely flush with this one, so I'm going to have to fill that gap, the depth I mean, and make these all the same level. So I'm sure some people watching this are thinking that's impossible, but hopefully it's not. I'll find out tomorrow. All right, after I got the taping up, I mixed up a little batch of thin set and set to work scraping the thin set into all the gaps and the holes. I squared off the seams of a little nook and sealed that up with the cement, and did my best to even out the walls. Where the cement board meets the drywall it's just a rough transition. It's never flat and perfect. So I spent a lot of cement trying to make that nice. All right, I'm probably most proud / nervous of this nook. where the shampoo bottles will go. This is how it looks right now. I think I've got the thin set into all the little nooks and crannies there, and it's squared off. I'm sure it's gonna look great when it's tiled. At the bottom where it meets the tub, I've got some blue tape, and the thin sets filled the gap in between the bottom of the cement board and the tub. Oh, there's a little void right there. I should probably fill before we wash up. I made 3 little batches of thin set to do this. I kept finding more screw holes to cover and little problems to cover. Here, I cut the hole in the cement board for the mixer here. And I have heard that you're supposed to cut it as big as you can with making sure that the little cover plate will cover it. But I moved the position of the cement board a little lower than it had been. So it gave me a little gap at the top where air was going to be, where you'd be able to see past the little chrome plate. So I covered that up and cemented over that. Of course, tiles are going to be there too, so there'll be plenty of place to, or it's easy to cover up. This isn't the final look, obviously. So that's what I did there. And then here on this corner, I've got drywall and drywall patch on this side being met by cement, the thin set patch on this side. Must be a better way to do it than that. And try to get this flat. This is drywall up here, and this is cement board down here. So the tiles are only going to go up to about here. So this is only going to get painted. So, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to continue to waterproof all the way up. It doesn't go up to the ceiling though. This is Red Guard. It's certainly striking. It's thick. It's like spreading glue onto something. You can tell it's leaving a thick membrane. The vapors from it are horrible, in my opinion. But it's probably because it's really cold outside, so I'm doing this at night with all the windows closed, and it's hard to breathe. It's terrible. So avoid that if you can. But it's really satisfying to use. Tell exactly where you're going. And if you're like me, you don't have all that much square footage to cover, so it's going to go quickly. And I really do get the feeling that this is a serious, long-standing waterproof membrane. Here's a box of tile. These are subway tiles, which are 3 inches by 6 inches. There's 100 in a box. And so each box is 12.5 square feet of coverage. I don't think that counts the grout, but we'll find out. All right, here is a less than perfect tiling job in another bathtub surround. As you can see, the spacing is consistent until you get to here. There's like a wide band of extra wide grout here, and it's visible from quite far away, and that's the kind of thing that will drive you nuts for the next 40 years if you are not careful about your tiling job. This same tiling job has some there's height differences. So these edge tiles are a little bit further away from the wall than the regular array of tiles on the wall. So the grout matches up with them, but it's at a little angle. And because the light is coming from that side, it is enhanced, and it just does not look that great. Up here at the corner, they've got a little bit too much grout here, and they didn't do a good job of keeping it, of sponging it away. This particular one is really high up on this corner, and we're talking about like less than 1/8 of an inch higher than this point, and it looks bad. And again, these might be errors that you end up staring at for years, so just get it right on the day. Don't be in a rush. There's a little void there. I would want to put more grout there. And just sponge it all off. Any other errors I can spot in here? Here's a spot where there was grout that was on top of the tile that never got wiped off or scraped off. So that just stays there. It's just like cement sitting on top of the tile. So obviously it's best if you get rid of that while it's still wet. And if you can't do that, get rid of it right after you're done. All right, I've got one row down. I started with the center piece on the back wall and worked outward from there. I hit the corners and came out as far as I'm going. The tub apparently is not level, so I added little slices of tile underneath those tiles because I want that first row to be level. But I couldn't figure out a better workaround than having those tiny slices at the bottom underneath the row. The other side's better. I was cutting those, a little slip off of those. I need all these pieces, but I'm not sure if I really need 10 of them. But these blank tiles, the raw materials of these rectangular tiles are like 15 cents each. So to me, it's totally worth it to cut a bunch beforehand. And maybe they're wrong, and I'll be out 15 cents, but it's worth it to me to get these pre-cut. If they all fit, it's going to be an incredible time saver.
I need to extend my bedtime today. Like, Jesus, there's so many of these things. Get down.
After really 3 days of tiling, I have completed, 7 rows, which is not very remarkable, but I had to troubleshoot this connection here and cut a hole out here for this, the mixer. And on this side, I tiled the nook. These 2-inch tiles with a little bull nose here surround the nook. And the tricky thing was, even though I calculated it and did the math on how to make the nook exactly 5 tiles tall, so that the wall continues up normally, and the nook just takes the place of 5 tiles in here, even though it's got a frame of 2-inch tiles and 3.5 tiles high inside. It came down to 1/8 of an inch that this was shy. I'm telling you that my calculations were off, so this was shy a quarter of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. So I had to kind of cheat these 3 tiles up a little bit, which is why the ceiling tiles, if you will, on here poke down a bit compared to these top frame tiles. So there's a little bit of a gap there where you can see the side of the ceiling tile, especially here. But I think when I get grout in there, it'll cover that up. And I prefer that error to a visual error where this top grout line doesn't look good. So I think I've rescued that. That's going to work. This piece did not look good upon reflection yesterday. It was a little bit of a bulge underneath so that it created this like a 1/4 inch gap here. So I pulled that one off, and I'm going to re-cement it today. Pulling it off was kind of intimidating, but not that hard. I just took a chisel and just gently put it underneath the surface of the tile and popped it off. And it came off. That was after one day. I did the same thing with another tile. This one, actually, I popped it off the next day when I realized it could be improved. It's not that scary to pull them off. I definitely want everything perfect before I grout, because that will feel like the final step that's much harder to undo. All right, so today I'm just going to tile up straight, and it should be pretty straightforward. I am going to consider a soap dish here in this corner, so that will be the only tricky thing today. So here I go. All right, here we have a tiled bathroom tub surround. It goes up 5 feet, and the wall is still red with the Red Guard waterproof layer. And it goes up here to this corner. I added a soap dish in here. My nook turned out great, and I'm happy with all the grout lines all the way up. The corner presented some problems I didn't expect. Like sometimes you can see here that this full tile goes kind of in behind where this tile is. So the grout line is going to be on this wall. And then this one, the grout line is going to be kind of more on that wall. Or I guess that one's pretty centered. Grout line's on that wall. All right, here's one where this tile goes back behind it, and the grout line's going to be on this wall. So grout line's going to be on this wall. So that might be something that you, I guess I'll find out how it looks when it's all grouted, if it looks wonky or if it looks fine. I'm happy with this little nook. I think it'll look great. I think all these grout lines will be a little less obvious when they have white mortar in them. Grout, when they have white grout in them, they'll be so striking. You certainly won't be able to see the red behind them. And so any imperfections, I think, will tend to be hidden once that's done. I'm not sure about this shelf. It looks so chunky. I mean, I know it's in there well. It looks really chunky. Like, look at this big corner. It looks kind of silly. I bet it was created to be near a person's head while they're taking a bath and not, 4 feet up in the air. But I like it where it is. Yeah, I think I would have preferred something a little bit sleeker. Once I get the mortar in there, I'll see how that looks. Upon installation, I realized that I wanted to have a full tile. This only takes up about 2/3 of a tile in height. So I decided to cut that out of a tile and then put a full tile on top, because I knew I'd be staring at the top of the soap dish more than the underneath. So under it is where you have just a sliver of a tile visible there. That is too much mortar in there. While I was installing it, I was checking the level a lot. And you probably can't tell, but this is actually sloping downward, because I have a ball bearing that I use to check to see if water's going to flow out of it or if water's going to stay there, because I definitely don't want standing water in this thing leaving mineral deposits on this for the rest of its natural life. So I did test it a few times. I think it's not as good as I would wish at draining water, but I think it'll happen. So most of the water will drain out, but I do think we're going to be looking at puddles a lot in there and soap getting deteriorated. So that's a bummer. I might just pull it out. We'll see. So the next step is to mortar it. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. The next step is to grout it. I like to point these out. I'm really happy with how those turned out. I'm lucky I was using a lapidary saw with a nice angle fence on it so I could cut 45s really nicely. I think I cut each one of these 2 to 3 times to get grout lines that look good. I think those are gonna look great. All right, so I'm gonna, I think more of this right now. Grout. Oh my God, look at this. It looks awesome. This is a completed tile bathtub surround. I could not be more happy with how it turned out. I would like to attribute this beauty to meticulous planning and fixing problems behind the tile with making sure that the substrate was nice and flat and plumb and met at right angles and wasn't at a funny angle anywhere. And this was my second tiling job. So I had one little bit of experience and I got lots of great advice from Scott and Russ. The soap dish looks awesome. It does hold a little bit of water, I've discovered. So that will melt a lot of soap over the next 20 years. These corners I couldn't be more happy with. There's one. I know you've seen them before, but there they are. I was worried about these corner gaps, and I needn't have been worried. They turned out great. I want to show you one detail on this shampoo nook, which is that I followed the pattern of a half tile, full tile. And then when I got up here, I could have just filled the whole space with big tiles. But I continued the pattern of half tile, half tile, half tile, half tile, even though it just meant this one little inch strip would go in here. But that look, I think that it looks good that way. I think it might have looked odd if they were all full tiles here, or maybe no one would have ever noticed. The little nook turned out great. I think that the one problem I had is hidden pretty well here. I'm not going to point it out again. And this was the thing I was most disappointed with at the beginning, where I started off with full tiles here, and then when the tub surface dropped away from that, because I made sure the top of this first row was absolutely level, so I couldn't cheat this down. I had to put in little sliver tiles here. But they haven't bothered me since I completed the job, so I'm gonna ignore it. And I'm super happy with it. Look at this. I lived with a plastic surround for years, and this is just way nicer. It's totally shiny where the tiles are, and that's even shinier than the floor tiles were and are. And it looks just so sharp. I love it. Tiles go around the faucet and this mixer, and it's been about a month, so they already are water stained, but I still love them. And this is going to be just an absolute joy to take showers and baths in for the next for the rest of my life here at this house, as long as that lasts. And so thanks for watching this video. I'm super proud of myself, and I hope you all try it. Thank you.